I've hit it.
I was waiting for the button and the intro.
I've hit it. Right. Good evening, folks. Welcome to another stream about nothing of any importance. Teasing. As you can see from the thumbnail and the backdrop, there are many meanings to the word teasing. I've hit it. Right. Such as, good evening, folks. Well, sexual teasing. You know, it's it's an expression used for a certain kind of adult entertainment. Striptease, for instance. Striptease is teasing. Yeah, sorry, Michael. But I found a few images. So people tease, for example, their hair. Hang on, let's find the right application, which is hiding under there. That one. Hide that one. Oops, hang on. I need to minimize that one to stop doxing young Modway.
I can hide my face.
No. It's okay. I had the screen on the wrong screen. Good evening, Ludicrous. Yes. So, for instance, how to get big teased hair. So, teasing could be, say, a sort of like a subtle pulling action, you know. And perhaps this is my error, okay, but I always think of teasing as something done between friends, a light-hearted thing, right? Non-malicious. However, when I was looking for images, I found several images that referred to teasing versus bullying. Like this one, good-natured teasing versus hurtful teasing. Playful between both people versus angry body language. Well, but the caption itself says it all. Teasing versus bullying. But I think it's because we're referring here to what children do, we are unwilling to ascribe a more malicious term, bullying, to them. But if you are teasing someone to the point of bullying, I don't think it's actually teasing, but that's just my opinion.
Well, it's the problem, though. It's not just what the person does, it's also how the other person accepts it to be, understands it to be. So it's very difficult to say, okay, I just made a joke. It wasn't meant negatively. Yeah, but I felt it was negatively. Well, okay, so what was it? Teasing or bullying? That's the thing with these things, the difference between teasing and bullying. We used to say intent matters.
Yeah.
I mean, is your intent to bully? Well, sure. But nowadays, intent can be assumed, even though nothing in what they assume is true is now suddenly true because they perceive it as such. Therefore, they can tell you what your intention was, even if it wasn't your intention. And this goes all the way to the top of society. I mean, look at what happened to Count Dankula. That was a judge that could explain intent, even though the whole video Count Dankula made about his pug doing the Nazi salute, he was quite clear it was just a joke. But the judge knew better. Therefore, he was bullying. Now, this is, of course, an extreme example, but how is this any different than oodles?
Well, we can say that in Dankula's case, it was a shift in a control over the environment, and the judge decided that he was going to negate whatever intent Dankula had ascribed to the original joke. So there's a bit of a position of power always, and even if you're being playful with your friends, with the teasing, there's an establishment of hierarchy in that relationship.
Well, which I think
Yeah,
is
and
saying it's between both people is what makes it more acceptable. Sorry, Richard.
oh, but see, also there's the additional factor that um, uh, uh, so the judge claims to know Dankula's true intentions better than Dankula himself express it. Now, where have we heard stuff like this before?
Oh yeah,
That
no, definitely.
that because even though I did not use exact specific words uh, about something, I was clearly communicating it, and it's your fault for misunderstanding my signals.
Uh-huh.
And one of the famous ones that I've heard Karen Strawn say is the woman who testified in court that she communicated her desire not to continue with the sexual encounter because even though his penis was still in her mouth, when she stopped stroking up and down with her hand, he should have known that she did not wish to continue.
Well,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she still left his penis in her mouth.
yeah, and she
Yep.
didn't just articulate verbally what she meant.
Oh, she
No,
didn't
but
even have to
stopped
articulate it. She could
moving
have
her
used her.
hand. She
Yeah.
stopped moving her hand, so that is
She
the clear communication of intention.
she could have moved her face.
Yeah,
She could have used her face.
no,
That's all there is to
but
it.
the point is she's part way through. I don't know how far. I'm sorry, you know, the only way to clearly communicate a unwillingness to continue is to stop and move.
But yeah, no. So there is the problem when we're talking about teasing versus bullying. I mean, I like the image you're showing us, and it's all really good and well, but that one kind of assumes adults. So there is
Sure.
that. Welcome back, Richard.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the problems with being on the mobile.
I
Is
understand, mate.
the phone rings and Hangouts disconnects.
I understand. I understand.
Well, at least I wasn't getting a call from some from another telemarketer.
Yeah, well, there's never a good time
Oh
for them
no,
to call. I seriously don't
oh no,
understand
but
why they
see,
do it. I've never ever heard of someone saying to a telemarketer, "Oh yeah, no, you know what? Yeah, that's a good idea. Sign me up for 2 of those."
well, see, actually, this is what I do is I I play along. I sound really enthusiastic, and there was somebody who did some scam baiting, and he has some from his videos. He had some card numbers that he did not redact because, and he didn't redact them because they will not clear.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, let me pay for it with this particular card, and it is amazing about how many times that the guy you had called previously and the card was declined, you'll call him back and try to sell him something else.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
have the same.
And so
sorry. I'm getting requests that Richard in particular is very quiet and Paolo a little quiet. I have no control over your individual volumes. Could you please attempt to turn yourselves up a little? Thank you very much.
Okay, so where's the volume control on the mobile?
I have no
I
idea.
have
You
no
probably
idea.
don't have one. The iPad I used to use was a pudding in that respect.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the old Hangout, I could, or the person running the Hangout, could boost or lower individual volumes. But since Google fixed Hangout, you can't do that anymore.
Well, see, Discord does have that feature, except for certain characters. I was in somebody's room and on their server they have the rhythm bot that will which will play music in the voice chat room. And when somebody starts up the rhythm bot, I can do the right click on the rhythm and try to turn the volume down. And it has no effect on the volume whatsoever. Rhythm is stuck at full volume. But that could be the particular person's server settings too. That they just basically don't give anyone else permission to turn the volume down on the rhythm bot, so you can't just have it as background music. It will play at full volume unless I mute it.
Mutiny, we have a mutiny.
Don't be the captain of the bounty, John.
No, hey, I asked him if he wanted to be banned, and he said try it, so I did. I'm merely doing what he asked for. I didn't just ban him. I asked him if he wanted to be banned, and he said try it. That's a request.
That was very democratic.
That's a request. I merely acceded to what he asked for.
Okay.
So
remember teasing and bullying?
Yes. John, are you teasing Michael or are you bullying Michael?
I am teasing
Yes,
him
indeed.
naturally.
Yeah, I can understand how people would see that differently.
Yes, well, Modwayne, I don't care.
That is part of it.
The judge does not care about your intent.
Well, see, and also along the lines of communicating clearly, before we started up and even before Modwayne got in, remember, if you're going to send somebody to the shop for polish and sherry, you better write it on 2 separate lines.
Yeah. This is something from the pre-stream, folks.
You have to give him back his wrench too.
Yeah, you have to give him back his wrench now.
I didn't know I took it.
Well, you banned him.
Automatically, you banned him.
Oh, okay.
Basically saying the world, he's no longer welcome.
No, I just suppressed his voice for a little bit.
And Anxious, he couldn't unban him because at this point in time, John is on SOT stream, which is the admin top, so to speak. So SOT stream, whoever is on that account can ban anyone he wants to.
I didn't ban
John,
him.
you just created a safe space.
Simply hit.
Yeah.
He used sexist language. I abhor sexist language.
You need to get one of those pink wigs.
Pink wigs?
Yes, you just create because you're creating a safe space.
Are you talking
So you need
about
to wear
a dandy from the 18th century?
No, I'm talking about Big Red. You just created a safe space, so now you have to wear a pink wig.
Big I'm not allowed to give him a wrench.
You're not?
Read his last 3 messages. No wrench. Damn impt. Which I think he means damn it. He doesn't want one.
Did he say, please do not give me a wrench?
God, I keep turning this fucking thing down and down and down and down. It's practically a 0. You probably can't hear me now. That's okay. At least Michael will be happy.
No, I can hear you just fine.
No. We're on the hangout, mate. I keep turning down the stream volume for me because I'm on a different volume from you guys.
Oh.
So at the moment, I'm like barely registering, which should mean that Michael's happy.
I had myself muted, so that wasn't smart of me.
Oh, so you're okay. So you are turning down the OBS volume.
Yes.
Not your own earphone volume.
No, I have meters showing the
Yes.
decibel.
But can't you turn down the sound of your microphone itself before OBS? So in Windows.
I probably could. Hang on.
But in OBS, you can see how loud the output is that we're doing, so you can set your microphone output at the same. That is true.
Moderate. That's what I did, and I kept.
Well, that's
turning
weird
it,
because
moderate, please. I kept turning it down to be no louder than yours, and Michael's still complaining it was really loud. So I turned it way down beyond that.
And then Ludicrous and Anxious both say, we can't hear you now.
Yes, after I turned it way down further. Jeez.
Okay. He accidentally, on purpose, turned his volume down.
No, I had already turned down my volume to under 50%, and Michael was still saying it was loud. So I turned it down another 10. And then it was too low.
Okay. Okay. Just out of curiosity, does your standalone microphone have its own volume control knob on the microphone itself?
Well, no, but it does on the little red box I use between it and the computer. But I'm not touching anything now because Anxious Ozzy's told me to not change anything.
Okay, there we go.
Yawn.
Okay, so then I found, to change the subject, this one. I don't even know what it means, but this is what it says. Little boys tease little girls when they're 8, and women still love it when they're 28 and 40. Just throwing that out there, because as far as I was aware, teasing wasn't a gender thing. Girls tease boys and other girls just as much, just saying.
Well.
Yeah, but then, but there is definitely a difference between the playful teasing and the utter malice that if the differences are not resolved, the playful teasing goes from being playful to being malicious.
Okay, but that doesn't address the
And
point
so,
about gender, sex. Because girls, when they tease, are really
well,
often being passive aggressive and socially destructive.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, the gendered out aspect is that boys are going to be more direct. Uh, I, I, when a boy does not like another boy, there is no ambiguity. A girl who does not like another girl, she can act and pretend that she likes her to her face,
Yeah.
but that is also the one that will be spreading the most vile of rumors about her.
Yeah, but we're talking teasing here,
Uh, uh,
interpersonal relations, not
uh,
non-personal relations. See, teasing is an
yeah,
interpersonal relation.
as
Well,
yeah, but so, but still the friendly teasing that the girls do can still have this just it you know it you know it can still have the just utter outright hatred
Then it's not friendly.
that well 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 like like I said, they act like it's really light in her presence, but then yeah,
No, 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 but as I say,
but
we're
then
literally
when her
talking
back
about
is
teasing
turned
as
is
a
when
phenomenon.
the real claws come out.
No, but we're talking about teasing as a phenomenon, not the dynamics of interpersonal relationships in general. Okay, so
but well, if we consider teasing as a form of establishing interpersonal relations, but to my point about hierarchy.
yeah, well, actually, can I just bring up the next image? Hang on, guys, I'll share it with you in the Hangout first. Um, okay, can you see that? Can you see the little in the Hangout? Can you see the little boys tease little girls thing?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'll give you a moment to read and what's the word?
Oh, that's not a
Digest
good
it.
image, though. There are better ones for that one.
Well, I can only find what I found in the whole 3 minutes research I did. So, if anyone cannot read it, the top one says, women's friendship on the left. Oh my God, I love you so much. We'll be friends forever. On the left. Or, I love you too, heart symbol. Then it says, less, 1 year max. Men's friendship. Dude, I hate your stupid face. Nice to hear from a dumbass like you. Lasts forever. And it's juxtaposing the way people interact with their the actual bond. It's that people who are strong, because this was kind of central to what I want to talk about. People who are strong can take teasing. You can take being teased if you have self-confidence, is my point.
Right. Self-deprecation is a form to put other people at ease.
No, but being teased is, yeah.
Yeah, so is it a man who, since men are supposed to be in control of their environment, it's easier to be self-deprecating.
No, but we know about self-deprecating. We talk about being deprecated. Self-deprecating is saying things about yourself. That's what the self
Right.
in self-deprecated means. We're talking about being teased.
It's a well, you're more likely to form a bond if you can feel the other person is an equal, and if you have confidence in yourself, you are willing to let the other person demean you.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
It's a form of it's a form of trust.
Yeah, and strong, powerful women are also able to do this. It's just that the kinds of women, the feminists who complain about disagreement being harassment, are not strong, capable women.
Yeah, and so now, okay, so the teasing can be seen as a means of by which you establish the levels of the hierarchy.
Well,
Now,
not necessarily hierarchy,
men,
Richard.
Once boys and men figure out where their slot is within the hierarchy, I would say more often than not, they figure out how to fit within that level of the hierarchy. Whereas the girls and women, they're they are essentially all trying to get into the top spot, and basically they don't care how bad they have to tear whoever apart, because if anything is in their way, hey, it is fair game.
No, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's also a self-confidence thing. But you know how Alison Teeman has been talking about being a masculine woman, right?
Mm.
I
Yes,
suspect her masculinity as a woman puts her on the men's side, whereas the lack of masculinity of your typical male feminist puts them on the women's side. So it's not a strictly male-female thing.
yes, and another takeaway that I have about that is that um, the masculinity and the femininity are both counterbalances.
Yeah.
And, and so and so the as Allison says, the masculine woman is the woman who has the masculine and feminine aspects balanced to be a complete functional person.
Yeah.
Whereas these uber feminine women are very unbalanced towards the feminine and are so much like little girls who develop the counterbalance to their femininity. And that is why, in so many cases, they act like they're still toddlers.
Can I just juxtapose that a little? I feel okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I feel okay. Right. Ultra feminine women. That is women who are very confident in their femininity don't suffer this problem. I think women who are, the sorts who are happy to wear provocative clothing or bisexual, they don't have this problem. So it's not about femininity. It's about what's the word? A disconnect from one's identity. It's like women who don't want to be women for some reason. Instead of just embracing themselves and being true to themselves, they rail against it, but they externalize the cause of their discomfort.
Yeah, but I would say that there is a level of imbalance, like amongst the, such as the e-thoughts, in this sense that there's the one that it became a viral story where she thought she had ended her Twitch stream,
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't verify that she was no longer streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And so her microphone was still active,
Mm-hmm.
and she was heard talking to her boyfriend about, in a very disparaging way, about her audience.
Yeah.
Uh, about how all these guys throwing money at her were such losers and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and so her so so she wasn't really counterbalancing being a full adult.
No,
She
I'm not talking
had
about people who pretend. I'm talking about people who are.
Right. I
yeah,
don't think he
but
thought.
okay,
Yeah, he
so
thought.
Sorry.
I don't
Go.
think he. No, I don't. I don't
but
think he thoughts are a good example to. Yeah, it's more. It happens more maybe in a co-worker dynamics or in a social setting where you occupy the same geographical space. Because you interact with those people on a physical level, which is not the case with chem whores.
Yeah. I mean, that is a very artificial relationship.
yeah,
It's a pecuniary one for a start.
yeah,
It's more like
but
the case where, for example, you live in the building and the lady who cleans the stairs purposefully makes a mess with the plants in your near your door.
Mm-hmm.
That is one. That is the cleaning lady establishing a power dynamic over you, even though she's only supposedly there to provide you with a service.
This sounds very personal, very specific and personal. No, I mean, okay. So to counter
yeah,
Richard,
no,
no, to counter your point, Richard, take Anna Cherry, right? Who can be characterized as an e-thought. And I'd never imagined Anna Cherry disparaging her audience. Quite the contrary. So being an e-thought isn't actually proof of anything or an indicator of anything. It's just that some of them will be assholes. Cynically exploiting whatever that God, nature gave them. Okay. And then others won't be.
The real question is, though, why do we care?
I don't. It's just a topic of conversation. That
Mm-hmm.
someone suggested that women were easy to tease. This is what lies with. Someone suggested that women were easier to tease than men. And I say, well, and I was like, well, okay, so first we have to define what we mean by teasing. But I would suggest that if you mean easier, you mean easier to get a rise out of, true. If you mean it's less aggravating, I would say false. Because men are generally less inclined to take it personally and react badly to being teased, in my experience.
Yeah, I understand, but that's not quite what I meant.
No, I didn't say it was, but I'll tell you why I even suggested this.
And I think it's a good suggestion, but since we're talking about the topic,
Yeah.
the question then remains, why do people care?
Care about what? Explain yourself.
About whether someone is teasing or not. Or indeed, even if someone is bullying or not. What happened to our society that now these things are major problems? Because all of us grew up with the saying sticks and stones.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened that we moved away from that.
Maybe it's more difficult to define social hierarchies nowadays. And we establish behavior patterns that are...
Sorry, there's an assumption in Moderate's question that teasing is a negative. I've never established that teasing is a negative. I actually started off initially saying it's what happens as a friendly act.
If we're looking at teasing in the same light as bullying...
No, we're not. We're differentiating teasing from bullying.
Okay. But that was the image you...
Yes, I was differentiating them, and I said, if it's not friendly, I don't call it teasing. Precisely what I said with that image.
As you wish, but again, then the question remains. It's not about what you initially may have thought or blah, blah, blah. It's about what's going on. Because if we can only talk about, well, this is what I think, yeah, okay, good. I don't think teasing or bullying at all is a huge issue. What has happened to our society that people see this different?
Well, again, no one in the stream has...
one aspect of it is the helicopter parenting.
No, but no one said teasing's a bad thing. There is no context for your claim that people view teasing as a bad thing.
There isn't.
No, but okay, what I was saying about the helicopter parenting is that it used to be, and John, you probably remember this, that maybe there was two that you got sent home from school with a note from the teacher or the headmaster.
No. I was a good boy. I never got sent home from school. Seriously, never.
No. I mean, like when school was out at the end of the day, take this note to your parents.
Nope, never.
For whatever.
Nope.
Or maybe you knew some boys who did.
Nope.
Okay, well, for those of us who, well, see, John, and that is why you don't have any hair, is that your halo stopped all hair growth.
Not my halo. It wasn't a halo. It were horns.
You know, helicopter parenting is something that only happens because feminism is an issue. Because it's not a helicopter dad; it's a helicopter mom.
Yeah, and this helicopter parenting that I was talking about is, we went from the days where the school would send the child home with a note to the parents, and it was up to the parents to correct the child. To the child comes home with a note from the school, and helicopter mom Karen shows up with her "I need to see the CEO be fired" for having the audacity to send a note home about her child. Because her child is one who can do no wrong.
Yeah, I hear stories like that a lot. I know I'm actually thinking about becoming a teacher. And a lot of people talk about it, well, but nowadays you can't really tell children off because then the parents come to you and, well, basically complain and get their own back.
Well, not just that, but in the UK, you would get fined.
Yes, exactly.
What? For sending a note to the...
No, for disciplining children. You know, it's like...
Yes.
It's what I was trying to say to Richard earlier. The problem is a lot of teachers don't know how to use... how to control children without a threat of violence. And the children know there can be no threat of violence.
And then on top of that, then this is when you hear that somehow the teacher decided that the police needed to be called on 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
And what I would like to know is, did this particular school not principal out of that classroom?
Sorry, Richard, you broke up a little there.
No. We didn't hear all you wanted to say.
Okay, what I said was, did this particular school not have a school principal?
All right.
You know, a next step above that teacher.
Yeah. That is a very, because that's what used to happen, didn't it? You got sent to the headmaster or principal, or whoever it was. Was like the punishment.
Yeah, because maybe the teacher herself or even the classroom teacher might not have been able to use the switch, but damn sure the headmaster could.
Yeah, that was how it was when I was at school. It was
you never called the police to the school for a student misbehaving.
Yeah, a 6-year-old at that.
Yes, because, you know, if there is anything that I would definitely say is most definitely categorized as the wasting of police time, that is it right there.
Yeah, well, sadly.
And that is also, that makes it very clear to me that whoever that teacher is should not have a teaching certificate.
You're breaking up again, Richard.
That particular teacher has no business teaching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the problem is that the world is upside down.
I said that.
The world is upside down. It's like, if you're not fit to teach, you can teach. And if you are fit to teach, you can't.
No standards.
Well, no, it's worse than standard. It's like anti-standard.
So does that mean that Australia is now right side up?
Of course.
No, not really, because Australia is just as bad.
No, it meant geographically.
Oh, right.
No, of course. Yeah. It's very northern centric to have the North Pole at the top. There are those who think the South Pole should be at the top.
Well,
and
considering the path,
and then there are those who think that the South Pole does not really exist.
And
there are those.
There are those who kill themselves in a homemade rocket going into space to prove the Earth is flat.
You know, I would like to think that the guy indeed was not the brightest bulb, but in all fairness, he did build a rocket that worked.
But you see,
gotta have respect for that.
No. But here's the problem: we conflate different types of intelligence. And people who are technically geniuses can be as dumb as two thick planks.
Fair enough, but I still respect the fact that he built himself a rocket.
But he just should never get involved in geopolitics.
Well, no, he won't.
Oh,
anyway, I think
bigotry in the chat.
But I do think that from I'm not sure. It's some time ago that I read this, but I do think from an astrological point of view, considering how the Earth turns while spinning around the sun, the North is indeed up.
Unless you turn the whole galaxy upside down.
Yeah, but then everything has to be turned upside down.
It's all. The point is that is no. There's no origin, no point zero.
Well, that's not really true because you can calculate calculate, but you can calculate the trajectories of stars and whatnot, and everything in the universe seems to have the same. Well, not everything.
Source.
Almost everything has the same trajectory.
And yet, I have seen people write that there is no center to the universe. It's very confusing.
Yeah, that's funny because if there's no, we don't know we don't know the center to the universe. Funny enough, though, we know that everything, our solar system revolves behind the sun. The sun itself revolves in the Milky Way. The Milky Way itself revolves around something too. Everything is revolving.
Yeah.
We don't know how far it goes because we simply can't see that far.
And not just that, but the further you see, the further back in time it is, and therefore it's very, very difficult modeling it all into real time.
Yeah, but there seems to be a preferred rotation within the universe.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I understand the model. It's fine. I'm just making a joke, okay? That there are those people who have suggested that the South Pole should be the North Pole and vice versa. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there are people who decided that the world is flat as well.
Yeah, I know. This is my point. It's just opinion. And it doesn't actually matter. I know. Heresy, but true.
But I'm bringing it back to the question I asked earlier. What happened in our society that bullying has been given such or teasing?
No, not teasing. I want to separate the two. This is one of the themes.
Well, between teasing and teasing, I mean, not all teasing is the same either. I mean, the image we're using is sexual teasing, which, by the way, there will be people find that a problem as well.
Of course, that's why it's there.
So what happened to our society that people are so easily offended by teasing?
And this brings me to the question. Are women easier to tease or easier to trigger? Is being easy to tease the same as being triggered into a reaction? Or another way of putting it is oversensitive.
Is it women or is it a certain?
Well, yes, certain types. But the problem was, it was the way that.
But see, now that is a thing that has been overly enabled.
Yes.
So is it an ideological group instead of saying it's women?
No. Okay. The reason I say women is because the statement I heard, and I don't know if Richard heard it last night too, was that women are easier to tease than men. That was a statement. So it was stated in sex terms, right?
Okay.
But my contention is when you have a culture of making women insecure, in general, not everyone, but in general, which feminism does, and teaches them to be offended at everything, that in general, more women are triggered by being teased or in any way challenged or in any way anything they might find as derogatory than men in general, on average, overall, and we're not talking about anyone specifically.
So let's take it away from men or women and let's look if there's another combining factor in this whole thing.
Yes, and that was my point.
So what is the other combining factor?
Yeah, the culture.
Okay. So then
Yeah.
that's something we should address.
No, I know.
Or rather-
I know. This was the point, but I have to contextualize it in the light of the original statement I heard that women are easier to tease than men. That is the context.
Yeah. Yes, and one aspect of that is where the phrase "I'm offended" became this magical phrase of well, you say I'm offended, which means stop doing that right now. I do not consent. You know, it is the two-word version of basically a restraining order. Because basically, if 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 the person that you say that offends me to does not immediately stop, that is up there with the you know it turned into a criminal act right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It's a
I
power
told him
play.
that offended me, and since I said that offended me, and the person continued to do so.
Not even continuing. Not even continuing. Just the mere fact of having done it once.
Yes, yes. So now let us call the Crown Prosecution Service.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Or
you said
Twitter,
something
even
mean
worse.
on Twitter. Well, you know, at some point, Twitter is going to be the you say mean things on Twitter, and well, actually, we have seen that where the police are on your doorstep the following day.
No, but it's not just that. I mean, Twitter is the medium for the expression of this. Because take that incident a couple of years ago about the child who was seen wearing the coolest monkey in the jungle t-shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It all blew up on Twitter.
Yeah.
It didn't happen on Twitter. It blew up on Twitter. See what I'm saying? It happened in a clothing catalog.
It's the same thing about the girl who went to a prom in a Chinese themed dress.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't an Asian in the world offended by it, but some people were.
Yes, and they were offended on the behalf of the Asians who were not speaking up.
Yeah, and you know why they weren't speaking up? Because the Asians didn't care. It's kind of funny. I mean, what's his face? Black Pigeon Speed made a video about it not too long ago. How he was seeing a commercial thingy in Mexico, and all the Mexican people in that commercial were dressed not in Mexico, in Japan, and all the Mexican people. Well, the Japanese people were dressed up as Mexicans because they were in a commercial for some Mexican food or something. And he's like, yeah, this is not possible anywhere else in the Western world anymore because now people call it cultural appropriation. And here, they simply don't care.
Oh wait, so were the Mexicans offended or not offended?
No, the
Well,
white
Mexicans in
Americans were
Mexico?
offended.
Yes.
No, Mexicans in Mexico probably wouldn't be offended. Mexicans in America, however,
Yeah.
that's a different story.
And all the white woke.
Well, obviously.
No, but they are the
Well,
prime people every time.
No, but
Yeah.
see, here is the real challenge. We need to find something that will not offend the white woke.
You can't not offend the white woke. It's literally impossible not to offend them. Because acting as if you try not to offend them is offensive. They're not children, don't you know?
I want to bring up
Yes.
feminism again.
Go on.
The way people react, like when they're offended nowadays, is very much based on a feminized society. And because before feminism, if you were offended and you were a man, you took care of the problem yourself. Usually that involves some sort of duel, which is probably not very civilized, but whatever. While a woman would complain that to the man that she was offended, and the man would have to fight on her behalf.
Still happens.
Now what we have is the men are complaining to nobody in particular because there should be nobody to fight their battles for them. So they appeal to
state.
so they appeal to the state, and the state should not get itself involved into what is essentially personal problems.
Well,
Being offended is a personal problem.
No, you see, we have. I can't talk about effects, right? But we go full circle. So domestic violence was always treated as none of their business by the police. Oh, it's just a domestic, so they wouldn't get involved. Then feminists complained, oh, the police have to get involved. They can't just leave it. And to a point, in the worst case of domestic violence, that's correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now they get involved in the most trivial shit. And so people are starting to say the police shouldn't be involved. And it's like, because you have a problem, you overreact, you go way too far the other way, and then you end up coming all the way back to where you started.
Right.
Well, it's a pendulum swing sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the pendulum will swing the other way.
Well, we're already seeing that the counterculture at this point in time is conservatism.
Yeah.
More and more kids are turning conservative, which usually was something. As a kid, you're a liberal, and the older, not liberal, progressive, and the older you get, the more conservative you get. And now we have kids starting out as conservatives. I'm curious where that will lead us.
Well, the thing is, the majority of people become conservative as they grow older, right? The majority in the United Kingdom are generally conservative, especially socially. The problem is we have such a skewed dynamic by a very small, very influential, very vocal elite towards the left that to anyone growing up, it feels like conservatism is the counterculture, even though it's actually the norm. Because kids react. That's what kids do. They react. They see what they don't like, because this is a human trait. We focus more on what we don't like than what we do. So we position ourselves in opposition to the things that bother us.
Well, Responding to the chat a little bit though, didn't Toxic say you can still settle duels in her state?
Yeah.
And well, in that case, Ludicrous says I have a selection of weapons.
No, don't jump over. I said she did. I'd use the herring as the weapon.
I know. I didn't jump over it. I mean, I didn't think it was that funny. But
You don't know the famous fish slapping dance scene from Monty Python?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
Still, if it were my choice, because that's what I wanted to go to, because I have a selection of weapons to choose from for a duel, was rather serious, whereas a herring wasn't.
Yeah, and this is a fun stream, so pick the fun answer.
I would no. This is a serious one though. I would really go for axe and shield.
A serious answer. Boo.
Yeah, I would go for an axe and a shield.
I'm heckling.
I would win that one. It's funny though, because even in reenactment, not a lot of people use the axe anymore, which is quite strange because it's a really good weapon.
I'd use the 75-pounder artillery piece.
Yeah, that's all right. Problem is, you can't. Oh, you can,
yeah,
but you'll always miss.
No,
because
not
people
if you're
start with
away.
Yeah, but you start close together.
No, that's just an old-fashioned outmoded convention.
Right. Okay. So how do you duel someone who's at least a kilometer away from you?
Safely.
Drones.
Safely.
I mean, how does the duel start? Does the person you're dueling know he's in a duel?
Yes, because you're already playing StarCraft.
No. Sorry. If you've got your battle axe, I'll have a machine gun. Just saying.
Fair enough.
Indiana Jones proves it's right.
Yeah. No. I mean, listen. I'm old-fashioned, so a duel will be fought in a square of 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter. You know what? You can bring your machine gun, and I will bring my axe to that.
No. Since when was dueling in such a confined space?
Depending on the weapons, dueling were confined spaces.
Huh.
That's true, though.
I think it was culturally dependent.
No. All duels were confined to a space, and if you would leave that space, you would have automatically lost, and in some cases would actually have forfeited your life.
Most duels were not deadly.
They didn't have to be deadly,
No,
but they could be deadly.
But they weren't usually. Is my point.
No, because usually a duel would go till first blood, but first blood could still be deadly.
I mean, in Prussia, dueling scars were a sign of honor.
Oh, I know, not just in Prussia.
I'm not saying just. Well, every time I bring up an example, you go, not just. I know, not just.
Okay, fair enough. But even if it was only till first blood could still be deadly.
Yes. But that's not the point. The point was that duels often were not deadly. It was to win and not to kill.
Mm-hmm. One moment, guys. Something happening here.
Really?
Right back.
Rabbits. We have loose
Another
rabbits.
thing about teasing.
The rabbits are in the cage today.
Sorry, Paolo.
Another thing about teasing, which also goes back to feminism. I'm gonna be pushing that one.
That's good.
Well, women feel threatened by teasing from men because by allowing equality of the sexes, we started teasing women the same way we tease each other, and they feel threatened by it because they're not used to it from an evolutionary psychology point of view.
Yeah, that's a good point.
that is the funny thing. Women demand men to show behavior in a certain way, and then when men do, women berate them for doing what they basically asked.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that. It's kind of funny because, I mean, not too long ago I saw a whole Twitter stream about a woman making fun of a man showing himself to be vulnerable, and she was basically making fun of him and saying she could never be with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because in one of her other chats she was talking about how men should open up more about their feelings.
Because what you what you fail to understand is this: when the certain kinds of women, certain kinds, say they want X, they mean for other people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say for other people, but they mean for other people.
I understand.
So, for instance, women should go into STEM, but not them.
Yeah.
Jess Phillips, prime feminist of the UK Parliament. We need a female leader, but not her.
Yeah. And then when they get what they want, it's not what they wanted.
Well, what they want is not what they want. What they want is power and control.
Mm.
And if you give them what they want, that is a negation of their power and control. They want to go, dance, little monkey, dance.
Yeah, basically that's true.
Well, no, there was an anecdote. Richard might know this one from Honey Badger Radio. And they talk about desktop games. And they're saying, when men play these games, actually, it might have also been playground games when they were at school. When boys and men play the games, they want to learn the rules to be able to excel at the game. The girls, the minute the rules became fixed, wanted to keep changing the rules. It's just something in them that the process of perpetually changing the rules is more important than people all abiding by the rules. And this is what we see in society. We see rules that get ever more ambiguous. Oh, we kick you off Twitter. Why? Well, we're not going to tell you that. You broke our terms of service. How? Go and read our terms of service. Because the point isn't to tell you what you did wrong. The point is to keep you dancing.
Yeah, the point is control.
Yeah.
It's all about control.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the thing when we're talking about the difference between teasing and bullying, for example. It somehow becomes a control issue again. Which to me is really strange.
Well, I hate to ascribe anything to the singular. There are some who it's control, some it's just about insecurity. Some it's about, as Paolo suggested, a lack of evolutionary ability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not necessary to always ascribe it down to a single reason. It can be a collection of factors.
Mm-hmm.
But it is fair to say that the drive to have men and women interact equally and be treated equally is immediately revealed to be bollocks by the inability of women to cope in men's spaces where men behave like men.
Fair enough.
Which brings me back to my original contention that I don't believe, in general, women are easier to tease than men. I think men are easier to tease because men can take it.
Hi there, Real Raven, by the way. And yeah, Nick, I like that. It's a very good example. The Hitchhiker's Guide of the Galaxy's interstellar highway. The thing was that, people could go and read it, but there was no way for them to go and read it. Then again, if we look at a lot of the social media platforms out there, they have a terms of service, but it's so vague that even if you do read it, fuck what it means because nobody knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that.
Has my mic got loud again? Fuck.
John Mike has gone mental.
No, okay.
Or John has.
No.
Well,
No,
if you have to choose.
Moderate. We did this experiment earlier, right? Moderate or not. My Windows settings constantly
Oh yeah, no, that's
adjust.
true. No, that's true. I have to speak in favor of John on this. We did check it. We did try to get his volume down, and for some stupid reason, Windows kept pushing it up again. It's true. This really did happen.
Yes, it was very
I'm afraid
annoying.
I can't fix faulty hardware. I'm not sure if it's a hardware thing or a software thing.
No,
I think it's a software
Windows
thing.
And Microsoft
It is.
that cancer.
Yeah, I think John is correct on that one.
I keep
Quite.
turning down the gain in OBS. I'm sorry for the volume. Eventually, Microsoft will run out of oomph to add.
Yeah, but at a certain point in time, he even had the, what was it, the 10 dB boost. That was quite annoying.
No, see what it is actually. Okay, if you boost something by 100%, it will cause distortion, which is a crack. So the ideal is to have it comfortably within mid-range. The trouble is as I've been adjusting it down, that Windows has been increasing the gain in its system.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why you should just leave the OBS and then the Windows alone and turn down the knob on the little red box.
No, but this is the point. It doesn't matter because Windows adjusts to that.
Yeah, we a few weeks ago now, we really did try everything. And yeah, we did spend a long time trying to fix it. It was really amazing. And everything, I was like, okay. And he even had it open for me, showing it. And it just switched itself. And it was no logical reason for it to do so. But yeah, that was annoying as well, to be honest.
Okay, John, your microphone, it sits on your desk, right?
Yeah, I've been trying to push it back further away from me.
Well, either that or just push your chair back further away from the desk.
Well, then I can't span the chair.
Oh, you don't have a wireless keyboard?
Sorry?
You don't have a wireless keyboard?
No.
Well, there you have it then.
I had one, and it was as flaky as goodness knows. Nearly swore there.
Well,
yeah, you can't say fuck on this channel, obviously
no,
not.
I would never say fuck, but flaky as flamingos.
No wait. Why isn't that we can't say fuck on this channel?
No, we can.
YouTube doesn't want you to, though.
Look, I clearly designated this stream as not safe for children. Just say.
Very good.
If you have a problem with something clearly designated as not safe for children, then I think YouTube should be kindergarten tube.
Isn't it already?
Yes. Aren't isn't there an unwritten rule that everything must be made safe for children?
No, because not everything is in the domain of suitable for children, and things outside the domain are suitable for children.
Yeah, I
Well,
know
but
that.
say
Suitable for children.
yes, but things that fall outside of the domain of suitable for children are no longer going to be allowed on YouTube because the only real human people are females and children. And
No.
when
Females, children are not human.
yes, oh geez, who was reading that? Oh, it was Lauren that was reading that article about the abolishment of the nuclear family and just the way this flake was writing it. Well, with the risks of childbirth, why would we allow a fetus inside of our body? And it's like, what, the fetus was on its own somewhere and it just,
Crawled into you.
yeah. I, I mean, it's like I mean, it's as if she described, what sea lampreys do.
Mm.
They're swimming along, and then all of a sudden they just attach themselves to whatever.
Oh. But then again, the more I think about those, the thing is, what people nowadays call progressive, not so long ago we called ludicrous. I'm not talking about you, leprechaun, but still,
wankers. We call them wankers.
Yeah.
We are living in a
Uh,
strange society.
yeah. Weren't they also referred to as ridiculous?
Why do
Yeah.
you think I adopted
Yeah.
And
name?
and then some of them were actually determined to be or declared to be insane.
All of them?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, as I say, why do you think I have
But
my
yeah, that's
username?
probably a whole
My
can of worms
username
that we really don't
exists.
want to open up because uh, be, because of the factor. Yeah, how many people probably wound up becoming institutionalized for wrong think, even though they may or may not have had a true mental illness?
Good question. I wouldn't be able to guess, to be honest.
You can only have a mental illness if it's feminist.
I wouldn't be able to gamble that one. But well, more than a few, that's for sure.
Yeah, and 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 there is kind of a woman oppressed propaganda campaign where, oh, if the woman was asserting herself too too strongly, they'd just ship her off to the mental institution and they would work on her, and yeah, you would get back home a lobotomized Stepford wife or something.
Mm.
But as with a lot of propaganda, it takes a small thing and inflates it to be way out of proportion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so and so yeah, there may have been some cases of that happening to both men and women, and and also the mental health care system being misused as a quasi incarceration in that with a lower standard of due process to get somebody interned in,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a lot easier to have somebody declared not competent and then sent to a mental treatment facility than if the sufficient evidence wasn't there for the sake to get a criminal conviction. Um, I remember seeing a story where, or hearing someone talking about that the man was up on an assault charge for a bar fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody told him to claim that he had gone mad.
Okay.
And, that way he could uh, avoid going to jail for the bar fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he was facing maybe 30 days in jail for the bar fight. So he took the advice, claimed to have gone mad mentally, and he was in the institution for about 10 years.
Yeah, it's never a good idea to do that.
Well,
And it's something that's on your permanent record. So every time something happens, people will assume you did what you did because you had a mental issue.
well, but he had also wound up spending 10 years trying to prove himself to be sane.
Yeah.
Because
So
no matter what he did, well, that is what somebody who's insane would do to pretend to be uh, clear headed. So that is just another symptom of your insanity.
mm-hmm.
And so, it's like, wow. And after he had finally gotten out, you know, because he really hadn't necessarily fully reformed or changed his ways or whatever, winds up a while later, gets into another SmackDown bar fight again, gets
Yep.
brought before the judge again.
And he's fucked.
No, no. Uh, the this second time before the judge, he just straight out says guilty because he knows that saying guilty is going to get me 30 days. If I say mad, it'll be 10 more years.
Yep. Though I
And
don't
so,
understand what. Though I don't understand why it took 30 years, to be honest. I mean, they could have been able to, assess him faster than that.
no, no, see, everything that they had done, everything that they had done, you
Mm-hmm.
know, no matter what he had done, uh, the doctors there were saying that was just another uh, aspect. You know, uh, you know, no matter what he did was just another manifestation of the mental illness.
Okay.
So, okay, even though you're acting better, well, you see, that is your mental illness making you act sane, and so that you can pass as sane.
Wow. Then he must have had some really bad doctors around him.
Well, see, is it the fault of the doctors, or
Yes.
is it,
No.
or Or
I'm
is
sorry.
it that if this is a government funded hospital, okay, to keep the money coming in, we need to have a patient to treat.
Yeah, but for 10 years, no. I mean, this is a problem of the doctor. Hell, I mean, I've worked most of my adult life in psychiatric care. I'm sorry, but yeah, no. If your doctors work there to keep people indoors, then something is seriously wrong. Something is incredibly wrong.
Oh, I wasn't disputing that, but I was asking the question is, you know, is is part of that have to do with the the idea that it, if it is a state agency, we kind of need to tweak what whatever so that we can keep the government funding coming regularly.
Hmm.
Um, there was something that the ladies were talking about, and they were talking about uh, this 8-year-old who had suffered very badly,
Mm-hmm.
and and apparently they even had the child protective services come out to this very bad home environment, and even the child protective services had left it alone, and basically the one had mentioned that um, if the child protective services does not potentially see the child as adoptable, that could be a child that can slip through the cracks
Yeah,
because
well.
apparently there is a measure of funding, sort of like a bonus funding
Mm-hmm.
for the department if they can facilitate adoptions. And so if they show up to a child who is being mistreated and the particular caseworker does not see a child that can necessarily be rehomed,
Mm-hmm.
um, the child might not necessarily get into foster care. And apparently, some of the a measure, I won't say how big of a measure because I don't know, but a measure of the foster care homes are almost worse than the family home that the child is being removed from.
That sounds bad, though.
Oh, and one of the other really dark sides about it is when you also later find out that additionally that sometimes even though there are other family available that could look after the child,
Mm-hmm.
the child protective services may remove the child from any and all family relations. I mean, they don't even let the child be relocated to the grandparents or the uncles or the aunts or whoever. I mean, it's like, no, it's going straight into the state system.
Yeah, it's weird, though.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's been stories where the child was taken away from the mother, turned over to the grandmother, and then the grandmother lets the mother who was mistreating the child still care for the child.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Well, yes, and that's
that shouldn't
because
happen either.
yes, and of course, oh yes, mother and grandmother have the same address too.
What a surprise.
Yes. Well, yes, because then you also find out that grandmother is under 40.
Yeah. Well, once it starts being a mess, it keeps being a mess, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yes, and that's what we're straight up stuck with right now is everything's a mess until it's not.
Well, amazing, really. But there are so many things that are going wrong, and we're not supposed to mention it, or um, and I know this. I know this from my line of work as well. We are being more or less forced not to see things going wrong. It doesn't make any sense, but it's actually happening, and I'm not quite sure how come. It's really strange.
Yeah.
Well, some people make a career out of fostering. That is true too in certain countries.
Where there's money, people will take advantage.
But yeah, there is a. It depends though. In certain countries, there is a whole industry on it. And it's
Yeah.
what I find funny because in most countries, um, just about all foster parents are of a certain cultural ethnicity,
Really?
and at the same time, people are complaining when these people take in people of other ethnicities, even though
You talk
for those
about
other people
indigenous people, Modway.
there is no other choice.
Modway, you talk about indigenous people.
Well, so far for the vagaries.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was a I remember some ads about that here in the state. Homes of that certain ethnicity for children of that certain ethnicity.
Yeah,
But
well,
then when you ask the people of that certain ethnicity, hey, can you look at after this kid? It's like, no.
That's not my kid.
hey, there was a
Why
brilliant
do I
story.
have to worry? It's
There,
not my kid.
there was a brilliant
Well,
story.
but not only
Can I
is it
speak?
that's not my kid, but it's like, yeah, nobody in the immediate area wants to look after that kid.
Okay. Can I speak?
Yeah.
And
Can I speak, Richard, please?
and
No,
you would have
obviously
an
not.
easier time talking them into letting you store a container of spent reactor fuel in their backyard.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they know how thick the shielding is on those containers.
Yeah.
A- and apparently they know the particular child quite well. And so that's when it turns into, you're gonna have to find somebody else to do it, and it always has to be somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Quite annoying. No one ever seems to. I mean, you should praise the ones trying to help, and what they're now doing is shaming the ones that are trying to help. And with that, they will only create a society where people are less likely to try and help.
Yes, because the ones who are trying to help, they're not trying to help the right way.
Yeah. But
But
that's
then those who know the right way, well, no, see, they just know that that is also wrong, but they're not going to step forth and say, yeah, let me take a crack at it because that means that they potentially put themselves in line for being criticized as well.
Yeah.
And and uh, and essentially, if you uh, your whole thing is to essentially point out everybody else's wrongdoing, then you can have no wrongdoing on your own part, which is why they don't step up so that they never do the wrong thing.
Yeah. And you
Because
can.
that way they can always point out how somebody else did something wrong, and and then additionally they can also say, yes, but see, that's why I am not doing this thing, because I already know not to do it that way.
Hmm.
But how dare you, in the Greta voice, if you ask them what the right way to do something is,
Yep. But that's the thing, though. I mean, there is no right way.
or there is also no right person.
Oh.
They, uh, be, because that that same peanut gallery crowd, you know, oh well, you know that person shouldn't be performing that that function because he's he's the wrong person. Okay, well, who's the right person?
Yeah.
Well,
Good luck in
well,
trying to find that one.
well. See, we don't know yet, but we will look for it. But first, we have to put put together the preliminary committee to actually select the committee who is going to conduct the search.
Yeah, it's kind of like
And
we know what it's not. Therefore, sorry, we know it when we see it. That sort of mentality.
yeah, well, 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 but see, you and then you also need a diversity panel in order to properly select the first committee with, and of course, then how do you select who is going to be on the proper diversity panel, right?
Yeah.
And
Good luck in trying to figure out how that one's going to work then.
oh yes,
But that's the thing, though. I mean, if we just look at the way the progressive have been complaining about certain things, fair enough. They can do that. They have every right to do that. So many things have been changed in the way we look at things. Not wait a second. I'm sorry, John. Did you want to say something, mate?
I think it was,
John, I just got a message. Oh, there he is again. John, are you still there, mate?
he took off his speakers. I don't think
Okay.
I think he wanted to say something, but he couldn't get the voice across.
Did anyone hear John when he said something? Must have been a few minutes ago, though.
I think yeah, but maybe the microphone's not.
I don't think anyone heard you, John.
He left. Okay,
Well,
he got up and left. Doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, Richard. Continue, mate. I'm sorry I interrupted you. And now Richard is not here either.
Oh,
uh, no, I'm here. It's just it's like just go ahead. I mean, I kind of finished up the point about once you find out that you need the diversity panel to select the committee who's going to select the search co- committee, but then who do you get to be on the diversity panel? You know, the everlasting conundrum.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, because if we look at the universities and social media and even mass media companies like the BBC, the diversity managers are always the ones who like to see themselves as a victim, which to me is amazing. They still see themselves as victim even after they've been given the power to do something. But then again, they're not really in it to do something. They're in it to blame. And in all fairness, I have to respond to this for ludicrous. Do you really hug a hedgehog? Don't you just pet it? Because you can pet them. No problem there. Anyway, Paolo, you've been quiet for quite a while as well, mate.
I haven't had much to add here.
Oh, fair enough.
So maybe we can finish this one.
Well, I'm okay with it, but John has the controls, so I can't do anything from here, and John seemed to have walked off. So yeah, there is that. So Paulo, tell us the coronavirus in Portugal. What's going on, mate?
Apparently, we finally have a case in Madeira.
Okay.
We were one of the last countries to have a case.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, the Netherlands had several cases already, but we've been denying it. No, this happened in other countries. No, they were in Sweden when they contracted it. Yeah, but they're in the Netherlands now. Yeah, but we quarantined them for 2 weeks. Yeah, but you have to quarantine them for 4 weeks at least. Bloody bullshit.
Yeah, we do have someone who was in one of the cruise liners in Japan, and it took a little bit of political maneuvering to get him admitted to a hospital there.
Okay. I wouldn't know about Denmark. I'm sorry, Anxious, but probably because Europe isn't that big. So once it's in the continent, it's everywhere. But the downside of the coronavirus is that it has a 2 to 4 week
incubation.
Incubation. Thank you. I couldn't find the word. Thank you. Incubation time, which is quite long, to be honest. So yeah, it's very difficult to say. Okay, is it already a good thing or is it still a bad thing?
This almost sounds like it was engineered, especially the way that that Chinese couple was moving around in northern Italy.
Well, there are quite a few people suggesting that indeed it was engineered, and it came from Wuhan, from a biological center, which was very close to where the disease was first encountered.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it's true. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about the story, but what I heard was that there are people who are claiming that this is indeed an engineered virus. It's based on the coronavirus or the rhinovirus, which is basically the common cold, but it's far stronger in a... And it might become an epidemic, a global epidemic. Yes. But for the same, I mean, listen, this could be the 1918 Spanish flu thing, or it could be the 2000 and I forgot the name, SARS thing. We will see. I mean, yeah, do people die? Yeah, people die. Unfortunately, that's the truth of life. People die. If there's anything true in life, it's that. But how many? I don't know. It's kind of funny though, because we only hear about the people who've died. We don't hear about how many people have recovered.
Well, there are numbers. I think so far about 50% of the people who were admitted have already recovered or are recovering. And it's about 4 or 5 times as much as people who died.
So, but that would mean that 20% die, 1 in 5.
Yeah, but it's affecting mostly the elderly. So people who would be vulnerable to getting a pneumonia.
Say, okay, fine. Say it's outrageous. I don't give a shit what you say.
So depending on the weather, and we've had some inclement weather this year.
If you're saying you're giving me a $10,000
One moment, Richard.
I'm telling you,
Richard,
Yes.
can you? I think you have to mute yourself, mate, because I think there's coming something over your end, and I'm not sure if this is something you want to share. I think he already muted himself. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. No, because I mean, people keep talking about how many people have died from the coronavirus, which is a terrible thing for all those people who died. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, if it's the question is not how many people are infected and how many died. The question is how many are infected and how many got better.
Mm-hmm.
Now the infection number, yeah, easily found, but the ones that got over it, we don't find that easily, and I don't understand that. Let me see if I can find something now, though, just to get something talking, because Corona in numbers. Come on. Yeah, this is everything you need to know. No, it's not what I need to know. What I need to... Yeah, this talks about the new cases. Yeah, really good. It's amazing how much... well, worldwide, there have been more cases, it seems. Oh, actually, no, it seems that Ludicrous is correct. Worldwide, there have been 85,000 cases, according to this website. And this is from February 28th, so a few days old.
Sure, there are more in China, of course.
Well, it's worldwide. Mainland China is most, but everywhere else there are lots of people too. And worldwide, almost 3,000 people have died, and almost 37,000 people have recovered.
Yeah.
So that's a 1 in 10 chance, roughly. It's a little bit. Well, it's a little bit less than 1 in 10. It's more like 1 in 7 or something.
Yeah, they're counting the people who died and the people who recovered. They're not they're
counting the cases, the death, and the recoveries. And the recoveries is 36,000, and the amount of death is 3,000. So let's say it's about 10%. It's a little bit less.
Okay, but we're still waiting on more than half the people to respond either way.
Yeah, true that. Well, if we look in Italy, Italy had 888 cases. 46 people have come off of it and survived. 21 have died. So that's roughly half of the people that were infected and have run it to its course. Half of them died, half of them didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no, not half. Oh fucking hell! I'm really crap with numbers, guys. Let me try to figure this out a bit. So, 21 people died, 46 people recovered. So out of the 67 people, a third of the people died and 2/3 of the people survived.
Mm-hmm.
But if we then go to, for example, let me see, another nice country, Germany. 48 people were sick, 16 people have recovered, and no one died.
Okay.
So the numbers are so far apart that it's very difficult to recognize, and I have the feeling that maybe the reason why people die is because they didn't get the treatment they needed.
Mm-hmm.
It could be true. I don't know. I find it funny that the Netherlands isn't on this list, because we have cases in the Netherlands as well. But quite a few countries have no one dying so far. France had 2 people dying, but 11 people recovering. In the United States, 62 people have contracted the disease, 7 people have recovered. 0 people as of yet have died, or at least as of when these numbers came out. So it's not that you have to die. But the funny thing is, if we then go look, and I was totally off topic, I know. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Flu deaths per year. Obviously, this is not as easy because this is from the CDC, so it's probably just in America. If we look at the H1N1, which was what swine flu, which was considered to be the most terrible thing, blah, 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 blah. It killed about 203,000 people worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still a bad thing for the people who died. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's we're being made afraid, and it seems to me that the stress from being afraid is far worse than everything. The whooping cough. People die from the whooping cough as well. Doesn't mean that because you get it, you die. It's. Let me see if I can find better numbers. Seasonal flu death estimate increases worldwide. I didn't realize that, but that's from the CDC as well, so that's not what I want to see. In 2018, about that's also not. See, it's very difficult to find these numbers. Oh, I believe it was terrible anxious, don't get me wrong. I had the flu earlier this year. And normally when I have the flu, it's 1-2 days and I'm done with it. I was sick for 2 weeks. And I slept for half of them.
Ouch.
Yeah, well. I even slept with a sweater on because I was constantly cold under 2 duvets and all that. Well, I don't know where Richard is, and I don't know where John is.
Oh, I'm still here. I'm just standing outside and a lot of background noise. But,
Yeah, we could listen in on a telephone call. I don't know whose it was, but didn't sound friendly.
Okay. What you were saying about that these various people are pushing fear. Well, fearful people or people who live in a state of fear are more
Easy to
easily
control.
controlled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
I mean, now we're going right back to the feminism thing because you have a small cadre of so-called elite women who market fear wholesale at a discount, and they market it retail, and then you have all these women who will show up to these pep rallies for no charge,
Yeah.
but the men who had to clean up the rubbish and set up the stages and the sound equipment and then break all that stuff down. Well, those men weren't doing it for free now, were they?
True that.
So essentially, they are actually making their own gender pay gap because nobody paid all of the attendees to show up, and
Well,
nobody paid them to actually make all of their signs with all of their cute slogans either.
All right then.
Yeah.
It's weird though. I mean, why would you keep doing that? Oh, and anxious. That's the thing with worldwide numbers, and the one that I looked at for coronavirus in the past, not the one that Leprechaun linked, and I haven't linked mine. Maybe I should link mine. It shows it per country, which is why I'm so surprised that so many people in Italy have died. I mean, Italy isn't a third world country. They have a good healthcare system too. So I wonder what made these people in Italy so, I don't know. Um,
Uh,
sus-
One factor that I had heard about the cases in Italy was apparently the more susceptible are are the are the elderly.
yeah, but this is true for every flu. Well,
Well,
no, I
yeah,
shouldn't say for every flu. This is also true for the flu. Maybe I should have said it like that.
yes, but apparently it has been el- mostly the elderly who have been contracting it more.
Yeah.
And 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 if that is true, then the coronavirus is going to uh, kind of help extend the life of a lot of state pension programs.
No, because even then, the death toll isn't that high, so to speak. I mean, yeah, in Italy, to me, it's really high. I mean, a third of all the people that have gone through corona, so not the ones that are still sick, but the ones that are either recovered or dead, is a third. A third of the people have died, and two-thirds of the people have come out of it clean. But if I then look, for example, in yeah, let's say the Diamond Princess cruise ship, because a lot of people seem to consider that one. There are 700 people are sick. Only 10 have completely gone through it. Sorry, 11 completely gone through it, and out of those 11, one died. So it's difficult for me to understand these numbers. I mean, if we look at Singapore, for example, now that one is I find interesting. In Singapore, there are 93 cases according to the numbers that I've got. Out of those 93, 62 have already cleared themselves, but still no one has died. So
Uh, 62 have made a recovery.
62 have made a recovery out of the 93. So
Okay.
the number of sick people is going to climb. I mean, it's probably not going to end at 93. But at the same time, 62% is on the has already recovered. If this is true, then in Singapore, it doesn't have a deadly effect at all. And in mainland China, there was, as I said, 36,000 people have recovered, and 3,000 people have died, which basically says that around 10% of all the people that gone through it have died.
Yeah, and how many still have it?
Oh, 80,000, 84,000. No, not, sorry, almost 80,000, 78,000, sorry. But, I mean, except for South Korea and Italy, in most places, and Iran, in most cases, the death toll is relatively small compared to the people that have recovered. Now, in South Korea, 13 people have died and 22 have recovered. So again, that's roughly the 1 in 3 number. In Italy, 21 people have died, 46 have recovered. So out of the 67 people that have gone through the whole sickness, 21, or so a third, has died. So I don't understand why the numbers in South Korea and Italy are so high. Or in Iran, but yeah.
Uh, well, well, there needs to be more details with the data, um, such as the o- overall health condition of the people even before they caught the virus,
Mm-hmm.
and also what age range is being affected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It might
Yeah,
have
but
affected a particular area that where a large group of elderly lived. So
yeah, yeah, and so if you, and and not only that, but there may be factors that are negatively impacting the people's health too.
Yeah. I mean, even in Austria, because Austria already had cases as well. There's 3 people that have the illness, but it hasn't run its course yet. No one died, no one recovered. Yeah, who knows what will happen? I can't. It doesn't seem to be happening in Australia just yet, or at least I can't find any of it. No, I can't. Right, checking it again. Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Iraq. No, for the time being, Australia seems to be clear of it. But then again, having really dry air actually makes it difficult for this disease to um, spread more because it needs moist in the air to spread. So the lower
Yeah,
the moist, see, that's a good thing in Australia's drought. It protects you from. I'm sorry, that's just silly.
oh, oh, sure. Welcome, welcome to the home of many many thousands of square hectares of smoking hole in the ground. But
Smoking.
we don't have the coronavirus,
Hey, you can't have everything. So
and
count your
and
blessings
and bring plenty of marshmallows.
and bring plenty of marshmallows. Oh, there is that. Now, I wish I could say, you know what, guys, we can call it quits, but without John, we can't because he's the one who has to push the buttons.
Where did John go?
I
I
have
don't.
no
The thing
idea.
is, he was complaining that he was trying to interject something, and he was complaining that nobody was listening. I don't know. I could
What?
hear him, but I don't know if you could. So
I couldn't hear him. No.
okay, so maybe he thought that you were ignoring him and he rage quit again.
So does this mean we have to keep this going until he decides to come back?
No, I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can finish it. Unless
I
you guys
mean,
want to continue, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have no problem with
Oh, we've been going for
babbling on a
two
bit.
hours.
We have been going for over 2 hours. Yes. Let's
yes.
see.
We don't quite have the HBR stamina yet.
Yeah, I personally, I don't care too much for streaming too long anyway. I have to admit that 2 hours seems to be a good turnover point, or at least I like to think so. Opa, here we go. But if anyone has anything to say, we can still say it. No, no one.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm kind of out of ideas because I forgot to bring my binder full of research with me.
Okay. And what do you mean still blocked, Michael? How are you still blocked? I don't get it.
Well, you should give him a wrench again.
I can give you a wrench. That's not a problem.
You are What is he blocked in the Discord or is he blocked from the stream?
I don't block anyone.
No,
No,
but
it was in the beginning when they were teasing.
yeah, and so I guess John put the block on him or banned him or whatever.
I wrench you, Michael Keller, so I don't have to worry about all that blocked nonsense.
Yeah, that's typically something that we reserve for trolls.
Oh no, I
And
did react to your writing. I mean, I'm ending the stream in a moment because of what you did, and yeah. So, but you guys heard John as well, because I can't remember hearing John. Oh, all right, you nasty. Let me see. I think this is it. So you're no longer a moderator for this channel.
oh no, you have to give him the wrench back.
I did, but he doesn't want it, so I took it out.
Yeah, and I think that there are a contingent of these SJW types that actually seek to get blocked, just so that they can run to their SJW friends and, well, I was telling these people my truth and they blocked me.
My
And
truth.
so, yeah. Of course, then there's the thing, join Twitter just to get blocked by Steve Shives.
Yeah, but he's Steve Jive. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's blocked so many people. Uh,
He has blocked people who.
No. Apparently, he's blocked so many people that any person who signs up for a new Twitter account, they just get that block automatically.
But that's the thing with Steve Jive. He's got people blocked that he even himself has never heard of. So yeah. Not just Steve's Jive, let's be honest.
It took me about 4 months to be blocked by him. Now strangely, I'm blocked by what was her name? June. Seanhead. Yeah, I'm blocked by Seanhead. I don't know why.
Seanhead seems to have changed, but I don't know. I have no idea because I don't really follow her.
Yeah, I was following her. I didn't want to follow Greg because he's become annoying, but she was still funny. There are a few guys who are turning weird. Poisoning the Well are totally going nuts. So, and Jeff Holiday had a falling out with Magog of Morskar. He had a falling out with
Yeah, but Jeff has been going back and forth constantly, and John is ready to pull the plug. But John, by now I've logged in as well, so I can do it if you don't want to be bothered, mate. It's no worries. But yeah, there's I mean, there's nothing wrong with having critique with one another or on one another, but it's almost as if, hell, I can still remember that. What was his name? Call of Dusty. He used to be an anti-SJW as well, but he turned around really fast, and
he had Trump derangement syndrome,
and all of a sudden everything had to follow within his point of view, and I never understood this. I mean, you have to be able to disagree even with the ones you usually agree with. But yeah. Anyway, guys, do we want to call it quits?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, I would like to thank everyone in the chat for coming on, and I will end the stream, and I hope to see you all next time. Next Wednesday, we will do a stream on Modwayne's channel, and Richard, Paolo, and Michael Keller. Are we still on for something about the whole Weinstein thing? Because I did like the way you talked about it
Yeah,
on
and
Discord.
yeah, especially because with that situation with yesterday with the movie director Roman Polanski, that's still a topic to talk about.
So when are we going to do that, guys?
As quickly as possible, I guess. Can we do tomorrow?
If you want to. Richard?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah, tomorrow is sounding good.
Roughly the same time?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Mike? No, I'm just waiting for Michael because he's the last one. And he has to type. And we have to wait for him to type because, unfortunately, the stream has a delay. I kind of did want to let the three of you do the talking, though, because I'll just sit there as a sort of a moderator. No, because I really enjoyed reading about what you guys had to say, and I think, yeah, you know what, that's something to share. Anyway, no answer from Michael. Maybe he can tell us over the Discord then. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and I hope to see you all